The following is a community affairs presentation from the Ulster County Health Department. This is the Healthy Ulster Radio Show, a weekly presentation exploring community health and sustainability with guests representing a broad spectrum of community partners working to make Ulster County the healthiest in New York State. This program is sponsored by the Health Alliance of the Hudson Valley in Kingston, a member of the WMC Health Network.
Good morning, and welcome to another edition of Healthy Ulster Radio. I'm your host, Dr. Carol Smith, Ulster County Commissioner of Health and Mental Health. With me this morning is my co-host, Vin Martello, Director of Community Health Relations. Good morning, Vin.
Good morning, Dr. Smith. Our listeners know that we talk with guests and experts from a broad spectrum of organizations and professions that influence the health and sustainability of our community. Today, we'll be focusing on an area that showcases one of County Executive Mike Hines' signature achievements and a community asset that is quickly becoming one of the finest in the nation, and that is our magnificent trail system.
This morning, we are very pleased to have two special guests with us. Chris White, Deputy Director of Planning for Ulster County, and Dr. Kathy Nolan, who is the Senior Research Director of Catskill Mountain Keeper. Dr. Nolan also serves on the Ulster County Tourism Advisory Board, the Ulster County Trails Advisory Committee, and is Vice President of the Friends of the Maurice D. Hinchey Catskill Interpretive Center.
Chris White has served as Deputy Director of Planning for Ulster County since 2012 and has been project manager on the county's rail trail initiatives and special projects, such as the Stride project that transformed the former Sophie Finn Elementary School in Kingston into the new SUNY Ulster Kingston campus. Prior to joining the Planning Department, Chris served as District Representative for Congressman Maurice Hinchey. Good morning and welcome, Chris.
Good morning, Vin. Good morning, Dr. Smith.
Chris, let's start with you. Give us an overview of the rail trail system in Ulster County and why it's so important, not only from a community health perspective, but across the board.
Oh, great, Vin. Well, the county right now has about 400 miles of trails, but only a small percentage of those are rail trails. A lot of them are rugged foot trails that are in the Catskill Park and along the Shawngum Ridge. Currently, we have about 40 miles of rail trails, and I'll talk about what a rail trail is versus a rugged trail in a moment. We have another almost 20 miles that are under some phase of development or planning, and approximately 30 additional miles that could be built in the future. So we're looking to build out this rail trail system, and those trails, unlike a lot of the mountainous trails, are usually flat. They're usually very gently sloped if they have any slope at all, and oftentimes they go through the heart of communities because they're on old railroad corridors. So they go through communities such as Highland and New Paltz and Rosendale and Kingston. So in a way, they bring trails to communities, whereas a lot of our trails, you have to go up into the mountains or you have to go somewhere else to enjoy them. These are trails that are much closer to home for a lot of people that use them. As you know, Vin and Dr. Smith, the county executive, Mike Hine, has made one of his signature issues expanding and interconnecting the rail trail system into a world-class tourism destination. That's great for tourism and economic development, but as you know, it's also a boost to our public health initiatives, which he's also focused quite a bit of attention on. It really is one of the biggest ways that we can encourage people to engage in exercise more regularly and to get outdoors with their families and their children.
You know, often when I go on a vacation, although I like to spend a lot of time in Ulster County, occasionally I do go out. I go out to Cape Cod, and you'll notice that when you go there, the rail trail that runs the entire length of Cape Cod is, aside from the ocean itself, the largest attraction there, because people, they may want to sit on a beach for a few days, but you can't do that every day. So they go and they ride, and you'll see people of all ages, young people, older people, people commuting back and forth to work. It's really a terrific thing. So I think you look at the tourism aspect of it, and then you look at the recreation aspect of it, and it becomes quite a community asset. So what's the difference, Chris, between a rail trail and, say, other types of trails specifically? I mean, aside from it being level and And,
well, in general, again, the rail trails are open to people of all levels and abilities and ages. You may have a trail in the Catskills that goes up a peak some thousands of feet, and it's rugged, and the terrain is such that somebody couldn't take a child in a stroller, or somebody in a wheelchair couldn't do it, or somebody with knee issues might not be able to deal with it. The nice thing about the rail trails is that they generally are very easy for people of all ages and levels to use. And you will see kids on little bikes with training wheels. You will see older people. You can see people in wheelchairs. And it really allows all levels of bicyclists and hikers to utilize a trail, as opposed to only people who are in the best physical condition.
From a public health standpoint, it's extremely important that people begin to exercise more, increasing the activity of the youth and teens and older individuals. It's not only important for your physical health, I think it's also good for your psychological health. It's a way to reduce stress, and the obesity issue is of great concern to us, and certainly by simply getting out there and walking, you can do a great deal to impact that problem in our community.
Yeah, I think this is a cue for Dr. Nolan.
Building and enhancing multi-purpose trails is one of the best ways that we can spend public health dollars. The benefits of having a trail close by, either close by your home or close by work, is that people use it more. And so building trails and connecting trails becomes very important because people use them when they're there. If you connect a trail and make it longer, it becomes easier for people to go for a longer ride, and they can use it for more different kinds of purposes. Longer trails are frequently used not only for recreation, but for transportation. So in addition to the direct health benefits of somebody getting out and exercising and increasing their cardiovascular fitness, maybe losing some weight and reducing their risk of diabetes and other obesity-related conditions, which may include cancer, there are indirect benefits that people can actually spend more of their time doing things like going to the market on foot, which they might not be able to do, or might have used a vehicle to do instead if they have a vehicle. So having trails nearby has been shown to increase the amount of usage that the trail gets. The increase in exercise is directly correlated with health benefits, and so the trail network becomes something that builds a culture of health. People are out using it, they see other people using it, and you have basically everything moving in the right direction. It's really amazing that recreational benefit has so much health benefit, and the infrastructure that provides our own citizens with that then also has the economic benefit of bringing in the tourism, and we have the transportation benefit of more non-motorized transportation, so we actually have a benefit on the climate because we're reducing consumption of fossil fuels. So one of the best ways we can invest in our community is to build these trails, and it's been argued that spending money just on promoting trails and maintaining trails is an additional benefit.
Isn't it amazing that exercise can be fun and profitable too?
Well, I think in prior generations we knew that. We knew that getting out and exercising was a fun thing. It was something that I grew up as a child doing, and many people in my generation did. In today's age, we have become much more a vehicle-oriented culture and a technology-oriented culture, and so I think it's important for us to make it easy for people to get out. A few years ago, I did a research study related to geocaching, where you go and look for boxes and containers full of things out in the environment. And I found that most youngsters in the Catskills that we surveyed did not know of a trail nearby. Even though there are all these trails in the Catskill Park, they didn't think of it as something that was there for them. They thought it was an athletic activity that other people might do. But when you build a trail right in the town, and that trail connects to a park, then that becomes something that everybody sees every day when they go out their door.
It really builds community, doesn't it? I notice when I'm out in the trails, like on the Ashokan where I live, the walkway, it's really terrific to just meet people who are my neighbors, who I never even knew, who might live in the area, and say hello to them and discuss common concerns or things that we might have noticed about how beautiful the outdoors is. It really is that personal interaction mixed in with something fun that you can do with your entire family or maybe a group. You could do it with your faith-based group. You could do it with, the Scouts or whomever. It's just a wonderful alternative in terms of investing one's time and the benefits.
We have, to that point, we have a great trails leader from the National Park Service who lives in the valley here and works with a lot of us on trails. And he noted one time there are 3 real issues facing our communities. I mean, there's far more, but there are 3 that are directly impacted by trails. He was talking about this lack of exercise and activity and how children need to get out, but there need to be safe spaces for them to do so. A lot of people are concerned about letting their kids out in a neighborhood or to play in traffic. He was talking about the social alienation and the lack of personal connection. And then finally, he was talking about the connection to nature that a lot of our children aren't getting. There are, in fact, terms now like nature deficit disorder. And he said, trails address all 3 of those. And it's not a forced thing at all. If you take a kid out on a trail, just watch how happily they run and race each other and discover things, and also introduce themselves to other trail users.
We'd like to focus a little bit more on some of the specifics right after this short break. We'll be back soon. You're listening to Healthy Ulster Radio.
The excitement continues to build. The mission of Health Alliance is now made even stronger by our new partnership with the Westchester Medical Center Health Network. By combining a legacy of community-based care with WMC Health, we are building a stronger, healthier, and more vibrant community. We'll be collaborating to provide preventive, primary, specialty, and advanced care right here where you live, where we all live. Health Alliance and WMC Health, advancing care here. Visit hahv.org to learn more.
Welcome back. You're listening to Healthy Ulster Radio. We're discussing Ulster County's rail trail system with our guests, Ulster County Deputy Director of Planning, Chris White, and Dr. Kathy Nolan, who's Senior Research Director of Catskill Mountain Keeper and serves on multiple boards and committees that support rail trail development. Chris, we all know about the fabulous walkway on the Hudson, and we know that County Executive Hine has a terrific vision for connecting that to the Ashokan Reservoir and the Catskill Mountains, and there are a lot of pieces in between. Can you give us an overview of what the development projects are right now?
Sure. The county executive has laid out a vision of connecting rail trails from the walkway over the Hudson through the community of New Paltz up through Rosendale and Kingston, and then going out into the Catskill Park along the Ashokan Reservoir Trail. And as part of that, we are currently doing about $10 million in rail trail development over the next 2 to 3 years. The 3 projects that we have that are actively ongoing include an extension of the Hudson Valley Rail Trail, and that's the trail down in the town of Lloyd that connects to the walkway over the Hudson, which we are inching closer to the town of New Paltz so that it will connect to the Wallkill Valley Rail Trail. And that rail trail now runs all the way to the border of the city of Kingston. The second project we have going is a connector trail from the O&W Rail Trail in Hurley to the city of Kingston. And what's nice is the city of Kingston was once a hub of 3 railroads. Now it is going to be a hub of 3 rail trails. Finally, we're working on a nearly 11.5-mile rail trail along the Ashokan Reservoir up in the towns of Olive and Hurley. And that is a historic project because traditionally the northern shore of the Ashokan Reservoir has been closed to the public for recreation. Unless you had a special use permit from the DEP and a hunting or a fishing license, you really had no access to one of the most spectacular and scenic areas in all of our county. And we are developing a rail trail that we hope will be in place by 2018 that will provide one of the first flat trails in that area. Again, we had talked about trails that go up and over mountains, and this is a trail that is relatively flat that people of all ages and all skill levels could use to access beautiful views that have been closed for more than a century to the public. So we have those 3 projects going. We have a fourth that's on the way, which is a Kingston Midtown Linear Park. That project is along the old Ulster and Delaware corridor, and it would basically take a corridor that is separated and blocked communities from access, and it will reconnect 2 parts of the city, Midtown and the Uptown Kingston Plaza area. So we've got a lot of work before us, and we're really excited that 3 of these projects will be going to construction next year in 2017.
I have to admit that I live right on the Ashokan Reservoir, and I can see it, but I really can't go there. So
you're building a connection to your house, Finn.
Perfect.
So,
and I look forward to commuting to work on my bicycle.
Well, we will expect that. And Dr. Nolan has worked on these projects for a lot of years, and maybe you want to just talk about how we got here a little bit.
The origin of a lot of these rail trails comes from communities that have seen empty rail corridors nearby and wondered, how do I get in there? How could I use that? And in some cases, the communities have reached out to open space land conservancy groups to help them purchase the corridors. In the case of the Ashokan Rail Trail, the one out to the reservoir, the county purchased the corridor at a time when the railroads were no longer able to run. And many times the people who have formed the desire to use the rail trails need a lot of assistance in order to turn something that's a footpath and passable into something that is really a community asset. And the footpath can be something that is just social. People use it and it kind of beats down the grass. But when you start to build a multi-purpose trail, you create a more solid and firm terrain that makes it something that's acceptable for older people. In most of the cases in Ulster County, we're going to be trying to make the trails handicapped accessible, and you create a larger trail so that you can have multiple people walking together, which creates that community, and it also makes for a more secure experience on the trail. A lot of the social paths can be found by people who want to go hunting or fishing. They will still be able to use the multi-use trail to do that, but now the rest of the community is invited in, and we've seen people using these trails for things like bird watching, going out and having parties. Of course, that's happened on the walkway on the Hudson, but it happens on rail trails in our own community. In the trail that comes up from the Rosendale Trestle, the community has put art there, and we hope to do that at many more of the trails. So there's a sense in which these trails are doing something that the corridors had done in the past, which is connect people and also allow for transportation and then added on recreation.
We know also from a community health perspective that Midtown Kingston in particular, which is a very low-income population, has currently little to no green spaces to exercise in, and no real access to a supermarket unless they own a car. So, Chris, tell us a little bit about how this trail and Kingston being the hub of it impacts that situation.
Well, we have an opportunity with an underutilized rail corridor that cuts through the city. We're not talking about the CSX active line, but the old Ulster and Delaware corridor. And it is a great connection between midtown neighborhoods that right now, as you described, have no park space. There's no green space at all if you live in Midtown. If you want to walk 5 or 10 minutes, 15 minutes and take your kids to play on a playground or go on a trail or go on any kind of greenway, there really is nothing there. And what this would provide is the first park space. It would provide easy, convenient access for people who walk and bicycle to go to the only super major supermarket chain in the city and have access to healthy and high quality food rather than, buying convenient foods from local delis. That's fine, but for buying your groceries every week, having access to a supermarket is really important. We think, in addition to being a great amenity and something that improves the quality of life, it really is a social justice issue. Some of these neighborhoods have the highest rates of poverty. They have the highest rates of asthma and obesity. They struggle with things like having uses that may impact them, like highways and other railroads, and uses in the neighborhood that generally don't help with the revitalization. The trail project is a way to kind of turn that around. We're taking a corridor that's been viewed as blighted over the years, and we would be turning it into a beautiful linear park, greenway. It would be anchored on the east end by a new playground facility where people could take their kids and just relax and not worry about them being hit by a car or, being next to some use that would be dangerous for them. So we're excited. That's a very small section of the trail, but it's actually probably the most important just because of the density of the people who live around there who would benefit from it. One of the studies I saw from the Centers for Disease Control talked about proximity of a trail really being directly related to how much people exercise or don't exercise. If you make things convenient and you make them pleasant, people will use them. And I think the best way we can encourage people to have the exercise levels that the CDC is advising all adults and children have is to give them well-designed facilities so that they can enjoy doing that. So it's not a burdensome thing, but rather it's something that adds to their quality of life.
The Centers for Disease Control recommends that adults have at least a half an hour of active recreation a day activity, and children an hour a day. And having a trail near your home or your business means that you are much, much more likely to actually get out and do that kind of exercise. So when we ask people to do things for their own health and they're hard, then many times people don't do it. But when we ask people to do things and we make it easy, then and easy, in this case, easy and fun, then it's a whole different situation. The research about the benefits of trails for health estimates that for every dollar that's invested in building a trail, you receive about $3 in health benefits. So if we only looked at constructing trails from a health perspective, they make sense. When you add in the fact that they can also have a tourism benefit and an economic stimulus benefit, then the amount of benefit to the community from the trail goes way up. In addition, studies have shown that if a trail is within a half a mile of your home, the home value goes up. So if a person is thinking they will ever sell their home, this is a wonderful benefit because it's not on your home, so you don't get taxed for it. It doesn't increase your assessment, but you do have the benefit, and it can be thousands of dollars in increased value for homes. The figure also tells us that this is a type of amenity that will draw people to come into your community to live and to work because people want to have that. They're willing to pay extra money for it. And we're seeing that especially among younger people, among millennials.
Right. I think the National Association of Home Builders did a survey several years ago, and the number one amenity that people look to in deciding whether to locate to a community are trails. It used to be golf courses. Our friend Donald Trump may not like the fact that trails have now reached the top, but that seems to be the case, and it really is a testament to, I think, as you said, I think the era of suburban sprawl is kind of over.
Well, Vin, to that point, when I moved to Ulster County in 1991, one of the reasons I selected the village of New Paltz was because of the Wallkill Valley Rail Trail. And the condominium that I moved into and ultimately bought is right along the trail. And I again, easy access really encourages you to use it a lot. I'm out there a lot. I see my neighbors out there. I see my neighbors' kids out there. You get to know everybody's dog in the neighborhood. When they do the races on Saturday morning for all kinds of events, from cancer walks to little marathon races, they go right by my neighborhood. And it's just such a great resource to have so close to your home. And frankly, that should be something everyone has access to. Whether you live in Midtown Kingston, or you live in Ellenville, or you live in New Paltz, you should have parks and recreation that are accessible that you and your family can use.
I think you're seeing on both ends of the age spectrum too. You're seeing young millennials who want walkable communities where housing and work and entertainment are co-located with public transportation and trails, and active adults on the other end of the spectrum wanting the very same thing. And I think that, the development of trails in Ulster County is second to none and really a tremendous community asset.
One of the things in public health that we're asked to address continuously is health disparities, where the individuals in a given community or of a given socioeconomic group have worse outcomes with respect to their health. And all too often, we've always thought in the clinical sense, having them access to better health care, which is certainly an important part of it. But I think broadening our vision and realizing that all of this so directly impacts our health and well-being as a society is a great step forward. So.
Thank you, Chris White and Dr. Kathy Nolan. We really enjoyed the discussion today and having you here. We hope that you can join us again for an update. That's about all the time we have today. If you'd like to contact us with questions, comments, or for more information on this topic or others, send an email to healthyulsterradio@gmail.com, and tune into Healthy Ulster Radio next week for more ways to help keep your community healthy and strong.
You've been listening to the Healthy Ulster Radio Show, a community affairs presentation from the Ulster County Health Department, sponsored by Health Alliance of the Hudson Valley in Kingston, a member of the WMC Health Network. Thanks for listening, and be sure to join us for another edition of the Healthy Ulster Radio Show next week.